glow. It's the glow. Classic peace sign. So I got listed. It doesn't matter. Good morning. Good morning. It's your girl Faith, and we are back at it with postpartum journey and all these other random things that I'm just going to talk about to free myself. Not that I was in bondage, but you know, use my voice. Use my voice. So what we are talking about today is unmasking sensitivity. And it really took me a while to really process what was my intention in this. What do I actually mean? Because it came up in my mind. I was like, I don't really know what this means, but I'm gonna go with it because it sounds good. It sounds aesthetically pleasing. But what does that mean for Faith as a mom, as an individual, as, you know, progressive growth, presently where I'm at? Honestly, sensitivity for me involves a lot of different connections and aspects that come together to form sensitivity, if that makes sense. So for example, we're just gonna dive right into it. Example, sensitivity for me has always been something, I want to say initially, that I struggle with, but I realize that is a conditioned response of saying struggling in there. Needless to say, I just have always been a sensitive individual, sensitive to people's energies, sensitive to people's spirit, emotions, sensitive to certain words, sensitive to whatever the case may be. I've always been a sensitive person. Some will call it empath. I'm really kind of doing away with labels per se, but sensitivity has also got me in trouble. A lot of the times, you know, in light of accountability, I have been in situations too sensitive where people didn't mean it in a certain way, or I just took it out of context because my lenses of sensitivity were just high, for lack of better words, and I didn't actually digest what was being said. I just reacted. So sensitivity for me growing up was more silence, for lack of better words. It was very much, I've always heard the narrative, you're too sensitive, you're overly emotional, you tripping, you doing too much, you, whatever the case may be. And I really, now that I'm an adult and have been in therapy, I realize a lot of those people didn't really have vicious intent. There was just a lack of understanding on their end and how I process things. It was a lack of understanding on myself, on how I process things. So sensitivity growing up, sensitivity growing up versus sensitivity now as a mother kind of go hand in hand, but now I'm able to be more conscious of it. So back then, if I was easily triggered or, you know, was having an overly responsive reaction, I would shut down. I wouldn't communicate how I felt because I didn't quite understand how I felt, or I was afraid of the kickback of you doing too much, you're whatever the narrative that was given to me. Moving forward in motherhood, I'm actually embracing sensitivity in another way. Sensitivity has helped me with my boundaries. If something is off, it's off. Now, here's a difference. Although I can still be reactive at times, what I try to do now is sit with it. As uncomfortable as it is, you know, and ask myself, why am I feeling sensitive towards this situation? Why am I feeling afraid? Because a lot of the times the sensitivity that I'm feeling is a lot of times it's fear. Fear of speaking up, fear of not being seen, whatever the human emotion is I'm reacting to. I will now ask myself, Faith, what are you being sensitive to? Is there something wrong with this person's spirit? Are you easily triggered? Is your spirit fighting with their spirit? Is it just you? Are you being sensitive? Did they really mean it like that? Or if they did, how are you going to respond? Are you going to speak up and use your voice? Or you just going to mope and just say, woe is me? That's the accountability on my end. So sensitivity in motherhood, I will say this, sensitivity in motherhood has been, I can't even say that I have conquered through it. It's just learning. And sensitivity to me involves boundaries as far as my child, my son. For us, what works best for us. And, you know, there's certain topics that come with motherhood that honestly, not even motherhood, that are just sensitive topics with society. So like vaccinations, for example. I'm very sensitive towards these things. So again, when I say sensitive, it is not just, oh, you're sensitive to words that are being said to you. I'm sensitive to certain topics because I am fearful of what other people are going to say. I'm sensitive to how they're going to react, but not anymore. So, unmasking sensitivity is simply saying I am releasing all negative stigmas that have been conditioned in me, and I am going to use my voice and voice those things about motherhood as it relates to my son. So, vaccinations, let me start on that. Vaccinations, some would call me a conspiracy theorist. I absolutely laugh at that now, and I used to be sensitive to that. I used to like get mad, upset, and be like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Listen. You can believe what you want with conspiracy theories. I'm not about to go on this long drag with that. But if you can back things up with facts, is it really a conspiracy theory? Or is that just how we are programmed to believe in certain things so that you don't actually believe it, if that makes sense? And we all have our different opinions. As for me, I don't believe in full vaccinations. I didn't believe the COVID vaccination. I didn't believe a lot of these vaccinations that was given to us. Of course, once you do the research and you realize what chemicals and things that they are putting in our bodies, I just could not fathom the fact that they want all these vaccinations to be introduced to a infant's body all before the age of 1, essentially. Of course, you have those long-term vaccinations that go into like 10, 12 years old, but like after being consciously aware of the things that they're putting in, I couldn't do it. And I will say this, do not look up, if you want to actually do the facts for it, look up the research for it, look up European articles. Do not look up articles in the United States, because they are going to project their agenda and their opinions on what benefits them. So big farm, let's be honest. It's all about money. It's all about money and whatever they can do. So all that being said, again, this is not a long spiel to go into conspiracy theories and vaccinations. It is me unmasking how I truly feel about it. So we did not vaccinate my son fully. Actually, no, we didn't vaccinate him on a lot of things. We denied them. We definitely got some crazy looks. Thankfully, I have a pediatrician who, although for her job and situations, she will express her medical opinion, but she also respects our opinion as well. We asked a lot of questions to the point I was like, oh God, we get on her nerves. But regardless, that is what we're supposed to do. Oh, there is one that we did do. It's the hepatitis B, C, whatever. The one that can be sexually transmuted. Still fought on that one, but everything else we denied. And it's just because we practice herbal remedies. We don't, although I'm not perfect, I still have my moments. We practice herbal, holistic remedies. We also don't eat a lot of the processed food and things that is exposing us to certain diseases and things that can weaken your immune system, for lack of better words. So for us, we were okay with going, let me speak for me. I was not okay with going against the grain at first, because there's a fear tactic that came to mind. Oh God, if I don't vaccinate him with this, is he gonna have X, Y, and Z? Am I a bad mother? Is CPS gonna be called on us? I was overly sensitive to what other people were going to think about my decisions that worked best for my family and for Messiah. And after thinking about it, after digesting, I had peace with it. Like, he's going to be okay regardless. And, we did receive some kickback again. We got some crazy looks, but I'm learning to be okay with that, because all I simply do, my response to people now is, it is what it is, and just do your research. That's it. If you want to do your research, then really respectfully, you can't argue with me, and I'm not going to argue with you for someone who not willing to do the work to at least try to understand, because there are a lot of situations, there are a lot of situations that I don't necessarily agree with other people's decisions, but you don't see me bashing them. I can't. I could, but for what? For what? I would love to hear from y'all, for any moms or any parents down there who have the same opinions, who honestly have opposite opinions. I'm here not to argue, but I'm here to share different perspectives. So please drop them in the comments if you have more. The next thing was grief. For those who have been following me, I have been grieving. Oh my gosh, I need a chair. Okay, we just gonna work with this angle. It's fine. Excuse the boxes, because we've been here like a month, but I haven't finished unpacking, so I don't really care. But that being, what was I going to? Oh, grieving. For those who have been following me, I've been very open about my mom's death, how sudden it has been, how it has honestly just shaken up my world, being a new mother, not having a support like honestly it should be, of having just a mom. Like, I can't say I don't have support, but the mother aspect has been really hard for me, and it causes me to not be open to always receiving support, something I have been very sensitive on, because it has been tied into fear of not being understood. Because my brain was telling me, if nobody has experienced losing a parent, you're not going to understand me, so why even bother? Why even open that door? Grief has been coming in waves for me still. And you know how they say that there is a grief process, there are stages to grief. For me, I have just been in that sadness shock with a sprinkle of acceptance stage, for lack of better words. Because with therapy, I can't say I figured it out. With therapy, because I was pregnant when my mom passed, there was levels of stress I couldn't put on myself. And so there was a lot of processing I refused to do, because I had to just keep going for the sake of my health, more importantly, for the sake of my health with Messiah, my son. So therapy helped me unpack how stages of grief are linear. They can come in waves. There is no set. You have shock, then you have this, then you have anger, then you have depression, then you have acceptance. Listen, I accepted the fact that she was gone physically, and there's nothing I can do with it. I didn't agree with how she went about doing it, but I can't be mad at her, although I was. But I couldn't allow myself to put pressures on myself based off of, once again, society standards of this is where you should be in this grieving process. That's just not the case. That is not the case. And there's a lot of ways of sadness that I still get. And I put a pressure and time limit on myself of, oh, you should be over it by this amount of time. Says who? And I actually started trying to go into grief counseling groups, and a lot of them in different stages, whether it was fresh, whether it was 2 years, whether it was 20 years, a lot of them I saw a consistency of growth or acceptance that I just wasn't quite there yet. And so seeing that, I was like, when am I going to get there? The only thing I accepted is that she's gone. There's nothing I could do with it. But that didn't still take away the heaviness and the void. More importantly, the purpose. What do I do now? The why. The why. I was taught to never question God, but as an adult now, developing my own relationship, I realized it's okay. I'm not about to be disrespectful, but I'm about to be honest, like, why? And that was the burning hole in my heart that made me angry towards other people, that made me very sensitive towards other people, because I just wanted to shut down. If you were not about to give me answers as to the why, I didn't want to hear from you. I did it. I didn't want condolences. I didn't want pity. I didn't want just, oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't want that energy. I didn't, and that's just the honest truth. And I was so scared in saying that, I would just shut down and disappear. Remember, for those who've been following me, I have a great tendency. It's not great, but I have this real tendency to just disappear and just deal with things on my own. And that's because I had a lot of unmasking to do of my emotions. I just didn't feel seen, and I didn't know if I wanted to be seen.